Hi guys, this is Christy Fulk with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US. Well, it's hard to believe, but it's time for my 12 weeks of fall and Halloween again. This is for 2023, and this is week number 1, and I've got this neat little treat box or bag for you, whichever you want to call it, and it holds a lot of different things. I've got 3 little Hershey bars here that fit really good with it. I've also tried one of those little milk dud boxes. Those will go in there too. So what I'll be doing, the first 6 weeks are going to be Halloween projects. That'll get me done by the end of September. That way you'll have a whole month to make any of these projects you might want to make by Halloween. And then the last 6 will be my fall projects. Last year I wasn't able to finish these up because I had COVID. I think it was maybe I got through 4 weeks and I got COVID and just couldn't catch up. This week I plan to stay healthy, so we should get all 12 done this year. So if you want to make this along with me, just look down the video description below and click on that blog post link. And there you'll find the dimensions for this, the paper dimensions you need, and the supply list. You can get everything together and come make the card with me. And if there's anything that you don't have, this is a sneak peek. If you're watching this before September 6th, this is 2023. This is a sneak peek. So the products I'm using aren't available right now, but they will be, like I said, September 6th. And that way you'll be able to start making your list. If you see anything I'm making or you see anything on that supply list, just write that down. That way you are ready to place your order first thing September 6th. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first off, I want to show you the bundle I'm using. This is the Bag of Bones bundle that's in the Them Bones suite in the upcoming September to December mini catalog. Such a cute set. There's so many different things you can do with this. And I had a lot of fun making this little gift bag. So once you get this set, what you'll want to get, you're going to want to use the full skeleton stamp. You're also going to want to use both of the bat ones. There's one here and there's one right here. And you're also going to use the Boo to You. Now with the dies, I'm going to be using this one here. I'm also going to be using the full skeleton die. I'm going to use this little top hat right here. And I'm also going to use the fence, the one that does all these bones. And that is it. So that's everything you need from the bundle. And I'm also using the Stylish Shapes dies, and I'm using the number 2 die. Whenever I start counting, I start with the smallest one being number 1. So this is the circle die I need. Okay, now I'm going to get some stamping done. I've got a piece of basic black cardstock that's 1 3/4 by 3. And I'm grabbing the skeleton stamp and the Versamark. But first off, before I stamp it, I want to grab the embossing buddy that is in the Embossing Editions toolkit that's in the annual catalog. Get that ink dried up. What this does, it dries up the cardstock, takes out any moisture. That way the only moisture is going to be the stamped image. So when I put that powder on, it's only going to stick to the powder, to the image, So I'm going to stamp this, get that all inked up with my Versamark. Stamp this near the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to die cut it out later. Hold this down. Okay. And now we'll go ahead and heat emboss. So those of you that haven't heat embossed, it's a lot of fun. I don't do it very often. I need to do it more often because I really like the effect. So this is white embossing powder. It comes in the basics embossing powder pack. That's got black, white, and clear embossing powder. But this is the white one that's in the basics one. I'm just going to put this all over here. Now with the toolkit, it does come with a powder. I think it's called a powder pal. But I find with the white and the clear, I like to keep them in a separate container because sometimes you can't get all of that embossing powder out of that. I've used a Swiffer sheet, but every once in a while there's still a couple little dark little flakes of embossing powder I've used before, and it kind of mixes up into the white or the clear, and it really shows up. So I like to use a separate container for the white and the clear. So I'm going to grab my tweezers, and this is part of the same toolkit. And then I have my heat tool. I do need to warm this up. Okay, once it's warmed up, I just hold on to this with the tweezers. That keeps me from getting my fingers burned. And then I start melting that embossing powder. And I keep it in one place until I start to see it shine. And I can tell his elbow's starting to get shiny. And I'm going to slowly move it around until everything is shiny white. Isn't that cool? I don't know if you can see that in the video, but he's really shiny looking. I really like that. Okay, I'm going to put this over to the side. I have a couple things to stamp, but one of them has to be stamped after I do the die cutting, but I still have one more thing I need to stamp before I die cut. So I'm going to bring this back in, and this is a piece of basic white that's 1.5 by 1.5. I'm going to grab my pumpkin pie and my booty, let's see, oh, it is, yeah, Boo to You. I wasn't sure if I was remembering that right. Get my pumpkin pie and just stamp it close to the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect because once again, I'm going to die cut that, and I'm going to die cut it out with that circle die that we got out a minute ago. Okay, that's all the stamping we can do right now, so let's go ahead and get the die cutting machine out. Okay, I've got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out, and get it ready for die cutting. I need the base platform number 1, and then I need the die plate number 2, and a standard cutting plate number 3. I'm going to go ahead and grab this. This is that skeleton, and then I'll just put the skeleton die right on top, and it is okay that I had a little bit of white right here, because it's going to be die cut out. I must have not gotten all the moisture off or put my finger on it. Sometimes the oils in your finger, in your hands, can also cause the embossing powder to stick. I'm going to grab a piece of Post-it tape and get a couple of these going here. You can also use pieces of Post-it, just Post-it notes, just use the adhesive part of it. Works just as good. So I'm going to lay this down again, get this on there. I'm going to move that over here because we've got a few things we need to put on here. I'm going to grab a piece of basic gray. This is a 2.5 by 3 3/4 inch piece. And I'm going to grab this. It kind of looks like the door of a tomb. I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to grab the Boo to You and put that little circle on there. And I think I'll use a piece of tape for this one. I usually only use tape if it's a stamped image. That way, because I don't want it to move. I want it to stay right where I had it. You know what? I think this needs another piece of tape. So it looks like it started to move on me. There we go. The bigger ones, a lot of times you do need 2 pieces. This one I'm not going to worry about. I just need to watch it and make sure it stays within the cardstock. And now I have another piece of basic black. This is 2 1/4 by 1 3/4. Go ahead and put it in this way. And I'm going to put the fence die right there. A couple more things. I think I'm going to be able to get them all on there. This is a scrap of Cajun Craze. And I'm going to put that little top hat on there. And then I've got a little piece of this really cool paper. This is glow-in-the-dark specialty paper. It is a 1 1/4 by 1 inch piece. I'll lay that here. I'm going to grab the one that has all the little bones. And I'll just put this on here. I probably could have made it a little bit bigger, but it works just fine. I didn't want to use up too much of it because I plan on using that paper a lot. So that's everything that needs to be die cut. So go ahead and put this on top. And I'll start running it through. Get all of these little pieces here. Get this out of the way. Got all these neat little bones here that are going to glow in the dark when I put them on my package. They're kind of little, so I want to make sure I get those all picked up. Got a couple more. But the die cut really well. They all came out really easy. Then I've got my little top hat. And it's got a little band on it. It embosses that in there. Then we've got the Boo to You circle. I love the stylish shapes because it gives that neat little stitching thing around it, border around it. And then we've got the cute fence. I guess you can call it cute. I guess it's supposed to be eerie looking, but I think it's kind of a neat little picket fence. I could see using this on other projects, not just Halloween stuff. But there's the fence. You can see how all those little pieces came out easy. Then we've got our tomb. Oh, I do have one more thing to die cut. I almost forgot. And this one's got some embossing in it too to give it some detail. And then here, last but not least, is that cute skeleton. And he really does look cool with a black background behind him, doesn't he? I really like him a lot. Okay, I never thought I'd say a skeleton looked cute, but he's kind of cute. So the last thing I did forget to die cut, and I forgot to tell you to get the die out too, so let me get the die set back out, get my tape back in place. I also need this one here. This can be used to make a tombstone, but it also matches up with the doorway in that tomb. So I'm going to grab a piece of pumpkin pie. This is 1 3/4 by 2 3/4. I just put that there in the center. I wouldn't have had room for this anyway, so I have to do one more die cut. That's pretty good. I was able to get most of them done at one time. If I'd remembered it, maybe I could have squeezed it in. But this does a nice little embossing around the perimeter too. Okay, so that is all the die cutting, and now I'll show you how you can make the base of the box. Okay, you can use either your paper trimmer or the Simply Scored scoring tool. This time I decided to use my Simply Scored scoring tool. So I'm going to grab a piece of basic gray cardstock. It is a 6" by 3.5" piece. And let's go ahead and put the 3.5" side along the top. And when that's on top, you're going to score. Oh, and then when you look at this, there's a wide tip and a narrow tip. You're going to want to use the narrow tip for cardstock. This is when you want to score designer series paper. So here is the 1" mark. And then it's 2.5. So that's all you need to do here. Then you rotate it. So the 6.5" side, 6" side is along the top. And we're going to score it 2.5 and 3.5. And that's all the scoring we need to do. Now, I almost forgot, I have one more thing to stamp. So I'm grabbing my Tuxedo Black Memento and the 2 bat stamps. I'm going to start off with this one. It doesn't really matter which one you start off with. I'm going to stamp different directions, leaving little spaces. I just want to have a little bit of a background. I'm going to grab this other one and kind of stamp it in between. That's not too bad. Maybe put one up here. I just want to have a little bit of a background because it looks kind of plain when I just left it orange. You don't see a lot of this. We will cover a lot of it up. It is kind of neat to see a few of the bats in the background. So I'll put this to the side. And I'm going to grab, let's go ahead and grab this again. I'm going to grab the piece that I just scored a minute ago. And now what I need to do, see these 2 little boxes right here? I'm going to cut right along the score line and then stop at that first intersecting line that's going this way. Hopefully you can see that in the video. Okay. And now I need this tab to be a little bit narrower, especially on the top. So I'm going to come in maybe about between 1/8 inch, probably more like 1/8 inch. And then I'm going to cut at a diagonal all the way up to the top where those 2 score lines intersect. It's going to be like taking just a little bit of a right triangle out of there, okay? And then I'm going to do it like this. You've seen this with the gift boxes that you've probably bought at Christmas when you're doing your wrapping. And you'll notice that a lot of the corners are tapered like that, okay? I'm going to turn this around. Do the same thing with this side. Cut right along the score line, straight. Stop at that intersecting line, and then cut a little bit at a diagonal right here on this side and another one on this side. Okay, now one thing you want to do whenever you make boxes, you want to fold all of these score lines. That's called burnishing. And when you do score lines, this is the valley and these are the mountains. The mountains are actually the inside of the fold. So I'm going to turn it over so my mountains are facing up. I'm going to grab my bone folder. And it just helps to do all of these before you start attaching. If they're not burnished, they don't like to fold very easy, and it kind of messes things up if you've got glue on there. So make sure you do this before you start putting any glue, adhesive, or start putting it together. It just makes it a lot easier. We still need to do these 2 right here. So we'll open it up and do this. This just makes it so it folds much, much easier later. Okay, and another thing I want to do, so this is the inside because you see how it's kind of facing up. I'm going to turn this over again so the valleys are on top again. And I'm going to be decorating this. So I'm going to grab that little tomb right there. And I'm going to grab this guy here. Here's my seal. Turn this over and I'm going to just put this, and I'll get this going again. There we go. I think I did it enough. And I'm just going to put this right here. It's going to cover the embossed door that's right there. This makes it so you can see it a little better. Just go right over that There we go. So that's ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and keep decorating this. I'm going to grab the fence and my silicone mat. Get this out of the way for just a minute. You can tell by looking, you want the points to be on the top because that's for your picket. The straight edges on the bottom go on the bottom. You can tell after you die cut, this is a little smoother and this one's a little rougher cut, so that's the back of it. So I'm going to put some glue. I'm not going to put it on like the last, probably just each end one. I don't want any glue on those. I'll just put them here on the others. It doesn't take a lot. I'm just going to put a little bit here, along here. There we go. It looks pretty good. You can put one across the crossway too, but I think that's going to be just fine doing that much. I'm going to bring this back in. And this is going to be lined up. I want the bottom. You see how some of these are a little longer than the others. The longest one's right here. I want that to be right along the bottom edge of the tomb. I don't want to go below that because this is going to be the bottom of the box, and I want that to still be able to stand. But you notice this last one is kind of attached. I probably could have put glue on there. This one's kind of out a little bit. That's why I didn't want to have glue on those, because those are going to be showing here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab my little skeleton guy. He's right here. And his little top hat. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right here along the bottom. Get this going again. Of his hat. And I'm going to put it on at an angle. He just looks debonair with it. Like that, doesn't he? There we go. Have it a little cockeyed. Now, he's going to be put on with dimensionals. And you know what? I think it's going to be a little easier if we put this on after this is attached. A lot of times when I do dimensionals, it's a little awkward to turn this around and put adhesive on it. So what I'm going to do... Oh, wait a minute. I take that back. Let's go ahead and put it together. I forgot what I did. So we'll turn this over. And I'm going to use black dimensionals. And the nice thing is that with the black dimensionals, they're regular sized ones and mini ones in the same pack. And I'm going to be using both of them for this guy. So I'm going to put one right here, put one right here in the middle of his body, and the rest of him is kind of small, so I'm going to use mini ones. Let's put one here where his hand's at, and let's see. I'm going to try to make it so the flat sides are on the right and left. I think that's going to fit. If it doesn't, oh, it is showing just a little bit. I barely laid it down because I didn't know if that was going to work. So you know what? We're just going to put one right here. And oh, that's right. I remember what I did. These little, you can see these little borders here. If I just cut where each one is at, that's a little too thick. So I'm going to cut it right in the middle. I'm going to take one of these long ones and put it down here on his leg and do the same thing with his other leg. I had forgotten I figured that out earlier, but I forgot about that. There we go. So that should be plenty. We could, well, no, it isn't. We need to put one on his other hand. And it's big enough for one of these. There we go. That should support him. Probably didn't need one here, but I don't want him falling down. And you do want to make sure you don't put any on this elbow that's sticking out, because that is going to be hanging over the side like so. So I'm going to go ahead and take those paper backings off. With the black ones, you can tell if you've got the backings off a lot easier, since the dimensional is black. And I have found out sometimes when you're using the small ones, you need to take the paper backings off, and then you can get the big ones off. When you use different sized ones, sometimes it doesn't work as well. And this guy, be really careful. I don't know if you're noticing, I'm having a little trouble. He's thin in a few places. Make sure you don't rip the paper off too hard, or you might rip off his head. We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to put him here, making sure that all these dimensionals, I know he's got some on his hand here. His elbow is fine, so I'm okay with that hanging over. So I'll just put him right here. See, no dimensionals are showing over here. So he's ready to go. Now I'm going to grab that circle, the Boo to You. Now it's going to be hanging over a little bit, so I only needed some over here on the left side. So I'm going to make sure I remember where my left side's at. There's some adhesive, so there's no adhesive here on the right. I'm going to kind of put it underneath his hand just a little bit, or actually his arm, and angle it a little bit. And there's no adhesive showing back here. And I just had to use that glow-in-the-dark paper. So I'm going to bring my little dish in here. I've got my little bones here. I'm going to use 3 of them. I'm going to grab 3 of the larger ones because they're different sizes. Now, the one thing with this paper to know what the right side is, the side that glows actually feels kind of furry. The other side is smooth. So that's how you know which side you want to use. Grab my glue here. I'm just going to put very little bit right here. If I can get the glue going again, I think it's starting to run out on me. There we go. I'm going to put it at an angle down here. I thought we could have a little pile of bones right here. Hold it down for a few seconds. Give it some pressure. That way it stays stuck. Okay, that feels like the fuzzy side. That's a smooth side. So I'll put glue on this side. And then cross it like this. Now you can just use those 2 if you want to. I decided to use 3, so I'm going to grab another big one. Okay, so there's my furry side. So here's the smooth side. So I'll put a little glue right here. And let's do it like that. Okay, so there we have a little pile of bones there. And we have some more glow-in-the-dark fun. These are the glow-in-the-dark bats and ghosts. And I'm going to use 1 ghost. And I thought the ghost looked kind of cool. Putting him about right here, a little bit on the boo circle. And then we do have bats here, but I wanted to put a bat up here and one that was glowing. So pick one of these guys up. I'm going to angle it a little bit like that. And now we've got the glow-in-the-dark ones. Click on that blog post link below in the video description, and I have a picture that really shows how really cool these are when they glow in the dark. They really work. Even the paper, it is so cool. Okay, so now that this is all on, I'm going to want to put this right on this section right here. So I have found, don't put any adhesive on here. You want to put it on the box right here. So I'm going to put it right within these score lines. Get this going again. And I'm going to put it all the way along the edges because I don't want this falling off later. And right here. So I've got it right within that little rectangle I made with my score lines. And then I can see where the score lines are. I'm going to look at this bottom. I want to make sure that the bottom edge of this is lined up with the bottom edge. Oh, and that's the other thing too. When on my original I messed up, and this time I did it right. Make sure that the foot is along the edge. It's not lower than that. I almost got it too low again, but it still would have worked because mine does still stand, but it wobbles just a little bit. So I'm going to kind of fold this, make sure it feels like it's in the middle. I'm feeling it right here, and it does. So go ahead and push this down the rest of the way. And putting it on the box makes it so I didn't get any adhesive up here. So that makes it work out perfect. So the front is done. I need to grab some designer series paper. And this is from the Them Bones DSP. This one's going to be the back of the box. This one is a 1 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece. And then the 2 side pieces are 3/4 inch by 2 1/4. So I'll get some adhesive on here. Once again, just put a little bit more on than I usually do. And I find it's better to put it on these edges than on the top. Okay. So we can fold this so you can see it a little better. And that also makes me know I'm putting it on the right side when I fold it. So we've got that there. We'll do this one the same way. Get some adhesive on here. Oops. It wanted to turn over on me. Do the same thing with this one. Make sure the tombstones are going the right direction. Put this right here. Okay. Oops, a little crooked. Let's see if we can fix that. That's a nice thing about our seal. You can lift it back up again within the first few minutes of putting it down. Yeah, well, I was lifting it up and I should have just laid it down. There we go. That was a lot easier. So now the sides are done. Now we've got this bottom piece right here. Make sure I'm in the screen here. Now this one, I'm going to turn this around so I've got the tombstones going the right direction because this is going to fold up like so, okay? So that's why we want it to be the opposite of what this side is. So we'll go ahead. I love this side too. Very cool. I could see this working for fall projects too on that side. This will just go right here in the middle. And I'm going to be putting some Seal Plus on this. You could also use Tear and Tape. I think this is just a little bit easier. So these tabs, let me just show you how this is going to work. These tabs are going to attach to the back of this one. And then this one is going to go over like so, okay? So I'm just going to put a little bit of my Seal Plus right here on this tab. Okay. You could use the regular seal, but this is going to hold it a lot better. Now, I've got some of those tabs, because these are kind of like tabs. They're hanging over just a little bit. I'm just going to turn those over so they're not hanging over the side, because I don't want my candy sticking inside there. So I'm going to push this down. Before I do this, I want to make sure the bottom straight edge here is lining up with that score line right here. So this goes down. That's lined up. And squeeze those together, okay? Let's go ahead and do that on this side. I probably should have put the adhesive on both of them first. Let's see if we can do it this way. Yeah, there we go. Actually, one is plenty. I'm just going to do the one. And this is going to go like so. I was a little nervous. If I put it on both, I might get it stuck where I didn't want it to. Okay, there we go. So that worked out just fine. Now I'm going to lay these down. Since these guys are going to go on here, I'm going to put the adhesive on here. I'll just put it right along the edge here. I'm not going to worry about doing another one. This adhesive works really, really well. So one strip should be just fine. I want to make sure I get some here at the bottom, though. There we go. So once again, the bottom edge is going to line up with this down here. And then everything else will line up once you get this lined up down here. Put your fingers inside, too. Squeeze that together so it stays together. And we're going to do the same thing here. Line up that bottom edge with the bottom score line. There we go. So now the box is all done. Isn't that cute? With our nice little decorations on there. Now we do have a handle to put on it. You could leave it just like this, but if you want a handle, this is an 8.5 by 3/4 inch piece of the basic gray. I'm going to take my Seal Plus again, and I'm going to put 2 strips right here on each end. Like so. There we go. And once again, looks like I went over the side a little bit, so I'll just fold that up. That fixes it right up. And I'm going to put this in as far as it needs to go to cover up that adhesive. And kind of center it left and right to this side. Put that right there. Curl this over. I'm going to do the same over here. Make sure that adhesive is covered up and it's centered left and right. And that is it. So now I can just take, let me grab my candy from my first one. And they just fit in perfectly. You just throw them in there. And like I said, there are other candies that you can fit in there too. So I hope you enjoyed my first 12 weeks of fall and Halloween. I had a lot of fun making this one, and I think you'll have fun making it too. And don't forget, if you want to get the supply list and the dimensions, just look in that video description down below, and you can get all that information there when you go to that post. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And if you live in the United States and do not have a demonstrator of your own, I would love to be yours. I'd love to send the first set of catalogs out to you. So here are the 2 current, well, this is the current catalog right now, so I'm taping this. This is our annual catalog. This one starts September 6th of 2023, but I'd still be happy to mail one out to you. Just click that contact me link below in the video description and give me your mailing address, and I'll get your first set mailed out to you. But remember, you have to live in the United States and not have a demonstrator of your own. And if you'd like to stamp along with me again, please click on that subscribe button below. You'll see one in the bottom corner of this video. You can also see one down below in the video description. Just click on subscribe, and then when that little bell icon pops up, make sure you click on that and select all. That way YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video, and you won't miss anything. And you won't miss my weekly lives I do on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, I hope you enjoyed my first Halloween projects of the year. Like I said, I really had a lot of fun making these, and I am really enjoying the Halloween products we have this year. I think these are my favorite from the last few years. These are probably my favorites, so I think you're going to like them a lot too. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you again for watching. And if you'd like to comment below, if you have any questions, just comment below. I'd love to hear from you. I love to interact with you. And if you like the video too, I appreciate it. See you in the next video, guys. Bye.
Bye.